Hi guys! So today we're going to be painting peonies from the Learn to Watercolour 20 Step-by-Step Beginner Friendly Lessons on Watercolour Paper. If you're new to this, I bought this book off Amazon. It looked good. I thought great way to do it because it comes with the pictures already drawn, so I don't have to worry about that. And this is by Lacey Walker, Rebel Unicorn Crafts, who's another YouTuber. Do check her out; she's got great stuff. I'm not associated with her in any way. I bought this book and then found out that it was from a YouTuber. But that is what we're attempting to do today. I will pull up a picture. So this is what we're attempting today. I'm not confident. I've attempted to pre-mix my colours. It's not gone well. I've been winging it because none of these got names, and the colours are definitely not the correct ones. Um, I've done the best I can, okay? I will attempt all this again at another time when I have more. When I use up these, I'm going to use my better watercolours which have the names. And then I will attempt to do it again, so it's probably a year or so. But I want to use the cheap ones first while I learn before I use the good ones that got the proper names. So we're just winging it on the colour, okay? Don't come at me that the peony's the wrong colour. Right, so I've mixed up the thing. We had to do a custom pink and a custom green. They're not the colours she said, because they just weren't working with the colours that I've been using in placement of the one she said, so I winged it, okay? But the important is the technique, not the colour, so it's all that matters, really. So, step 1 was mixing all the colours, which we've done. Step 2, which we'll be doing over again, is painting the actual petals. She's saying where she means the top and the bottom of the petals are depends on where it's attached to the centre of the flower and the outside of the flower. Basically, she goes into that. So read all that. Buy the book to read it. I'm not telling you everything that's in it because the whole point of this is you go and buy the book. Again, I'm not associated with her in any way. I just think that if I'm going to learn from the book, you should too. This is just me learning how I do it, and you get to watch my progress of how I'm going, which is not necessarily very well. So, starting with a clean brush filled with water, wet the top of the petals until it's about a gloss or a satin stage. Then fill your brush with the pink that we've made and paint the rest of the petal, touching your brush to the wet area and allowing the paint to soften on its own. This will help to create a shadow. Make sure you fill this with enough paint for it to be a gloss or satin stage or wetness. Okay. So, clean brush, she said. I'm just using like a spray water I have here to put clean brush because my water that I have in my bowl here does get pretty thingy. But anyway, so what we were doing, we were wetting here. Wow, brush is still not 100% clean. Never mind, the colour will go over it. I did clean the brush, but it's apparently still got a slight tint. Let's add some more because we want the satin stage. Satin not flooding, so make sure take some of that water off. Okay, and then it was add pink colour and let it bloom out. And as you'll see, this is not the colour she uses. But it's as close as I could get, okay? We want most of the colour along this bit, and it gets lighter as we go up there. I'm just going to spray my brush to kind of help spread it up. Obviously, as it dries, it gets lighter, so that will be lighter along there and darker along here. Take some of that off just to tidy up around that edge. Dip your brush, get cream consistent and quench magenta, tip the brush and drag along the bottom of the petals. So we want some more of the actual magenta. Not creamy consistency, so I'll make sure it's not too wet. And go along here. Possibly need to be working a little faster so that I'm not allowing things to dry out, but I'm learning. We will get there. Some more of that colour back. Take some of this off because I got too much there. I potentially play with mine too much. Should just let it spread really, but I have control issues, okay? We're working on it. Right, repeat the same steps, a couple more of the petals, making sure they're not touched. We do petals further around that aren't touching. So on this one we'd start oh no, forgot to wet the petal first, didn't we? In the brush, wet the petal so that it spreads. The lighter bit will be at the top of this petal because this is the bit that's going to be closer to the inside. So that's the bit we're going to work on for this one. That's spreading quite nicely. And said I have done painting before, but it was acrylic and oil paints, not water. So watercolour is very, very new to me and something I am still, as you can see, struggling to learn. Consistency of water is my main problem. Learning how much to add, where to add it, that sort of thing. But I'm getting better. And she does explain very well in the books how we're supposed to do this. This is entirely my inability rather than her lessons. Her lessons are very, very easy to understand, but it's just taken me a little bit to learn or unlearn the way I painted with acrylics and oils and how I need to do it with watercolour, if that makes sense. Just trying to look at her images to see which petals she does so we can kind of follow along. So this one is much darker. That's one she's done in step 5. So she's done this one in the next step. So let's do that one. So make it wet first. So technically this is the same petal, but we don't do that bit until we go into a darker mode because it's kind of the inside of the petal, so it's going to be a different colour than this outside. So we've made it wet. Then we take the pink that's not peony pink and we're going to do, oh in fact no, she did that one, not that one. Too late. Doesn't matter. I'm going to do the bottom here. long as it's not touching wet and spreading out, it's all that matters. So I can just do this one and then worry about doing the next one in a minute. I can do one over there or something. Just encouraging it to spread, which I know I shouldn't be doing, but I have control issues. We've established this. So anyone who wants to give me hints and tips on how to improve, I am more than open to being told how I correct things. Because I am still learning and I don't necessarily get it right. So if people can help me improve, the better. See, that's why I shouldn't have done that one, because they're connected. But it doesn't matter, okay? It's not the end of the world, you know? I'm still having fun doing it. That's all that matters, really, is that I'm having fun while I learn. And that's the most important of all of this, is that it's still fun for me to do, and I'm learning to let loose a little on the colours. I know it probably doesn't seem like it, but believe me, I was a lot more particular when I used to do my acrylics and oils. So letting this flow, it's a learning curve, but I'm getting there, and that's all that matters, you know. So trying to see which petal she's done more of this colour and which one she's added more purplish into it to make it darker. Wait for such petals. Once we fill a few, we make it dry before we do any more. Okay. Okay, yeah. So we make that dry, then we can paint some more of the petals without crossing over. And when we come to doing like these inside bits and things, we're going to do pretty concentrated of the magenta, and then we're actually adding some of the blue on top to give a more deeper purple. So let's just make this dry. There we go. So we're just going to be repeating this process of doing these petals before we move on to doing the darker ones. We try to do more of the outside ones, I think. Now the reason why I haven't put tape down this bit is because that petal actually goes off. So I'm trying to paint the whole picture, not leaving half the leaf not done if I'd put the tape over it, because it would have looked odd. So I'm just going to paint to the edge. I don't know why she decided to have the image go off. I know composition wise it's probably quite nice, but for learning it's potentially a little what do you call it, a little harder to keep on track when I can't paint it down, you know. Some more the magenta. Now this one is in slight shadow, so we will be adding a little bit of the blue to this one so that we can separate the two, because otherwise they're just going to blend because they both have that lighter magenta colour next to each other, which is why it's important to dry it before we work with it. So just want to do a little of the blue. Hopefully that will blend into the purple, just giving some shadow. Take some of the water away with my brush so I can add a touch more magenta with it. So we do want to keep it pink, just a shadowed pink. There we go. You see the difference between them? It's subtle, but hopefully enough for people to see. I think I was going to do more of the rest of the petals before I start doing the darker bit, but I think because of my hand, the way it rests, I might be better off just doing this first. So this inside bit, we do more of the fully concentrated magenta. And then we drop in a little bit of the blue to give it the shadowing. Take some of the water away because I've got a little too much in there. So it's just giving it a darker look to it. Let's do this one next because we've dried that one, so we can move on to doing this one. Again, we make the petal wet. And then we take some of this, not peony pink, and we pop it on. Want that to spread a little more, so put some more on. And then of course we want the magenta along here. That is way too wet. I'm trying very hard to work around the previous petals so that we don't go into it, but we can still spread this colour. don't think I got the petal wet enough, so it didn't spread very well, but we can fix that. There we go. How's that? Bit better? Let's do down here. This one's dry. So yeah, I do definitely need to work on improving my colour choices, trying to learn what each colour should look like in there, so which ones they are, so I can mix the correct colours up. If I've even got the correct ones in there, I don't know. The same with the oil and watercolour, they were always named in their tube, so I never truly learned what they should look like, just more of what colour I was going to get from that one. And they look different than watercolour ones do. It's just kind of a learning curve, and I will get there, you know, slowly but surely I will get there. This isn't something I want to hurry. I'm just going to take my time, enjoy the learning process, and see where it goes from there. So I'm probably going to put a bit of the blue in here too, to give a bit more shadowing, because obviously it is matching that a little. I want to make sure we don't go too blue, so keep mixing the blue and the pink. I think we're getting there, you know. And then make sure I come back with this so that I'm keeping them blended. I don't know if this is right, but it's working for me. And if it works for me, that's all that matters, isn't it? Right. I think I can safely do that one before I need to dry again, because this one doesn't really have much attached to it that hasn't already been dried. Grab some of that normal pink. Tiny bit that I enter down here. Spread out, give us our depth. So I'm not chatting much because I'm not concentrating. But yeah, I do believe that the lady who wrote this book has a new book coming out soon, which looks like it might be all animals. So I don't know if that's one that I'd get. I'm not sure I'm into painting animals. But we can check. I'll have a look at it when it comes out and see what I think. But if anyone has any recommendations for other books to get to help with my learning to watercolour and that, please do let me know. Because, you know, I'd like many people's input on how to do this. I think we could safely do these ones. I don't know. I'm a little worried about my hand while I do that one. I think I'm going to dry it, then paint that one and work my way across so that my hand doesn't interfere with it too much. Sure, it's fine for people who can hover their hand, but I can't. It's quite nice to see how the colours change as it dries. And it gives me a chance to see if I need to change anything. Not that I know what to do to change the colours, look, this is me winging it anyway, but we can see. Do a tidying up some of the edges in these, but I'll worry about that later. I think essentially dry. Okay, so it's got a little warm as well, so I'm just gonna let it cool a little. I'm just reading ahead a little to see. So I think we do all of these petals, and then we're going to move on to doing the buds, and then do the middle bit. Oh, we do the green after we're doing the pink on the bud. Then we do the orange yellowy bit in the centre last from the looks of it. Yeah, so let's do this one, I think. My paper is seriously bubbling up at this point. And so I didn't tape that down because the thing, I wonder if I can tape it down now. Because my painter's tape shouldn't put paint off. It's literally designed for this. Let's see if I can courage that down. Hold it down slightly, isn't it? Go down with a little more water on all these bits. Actually, magenta. And again, because we don't have the blue, it should sit against there and still be visible. Because obviously we added blue to that bit. I might add a little bit of blue to that bit just to separate it off more. trying to prevent it puddling because where my paper is crinkling. I still do not know what the trick is to that. Please someone tell me, how do I stop my paper crinkling like this? Or is it just something that's supposed to happen and there's nothing I can do to stop it? A tiny bit of blue just on this bit here to separate those bits. Just make it a little bit darker, but we don't want it to come around here. We want that to stay of the what do you call it, colour. There. Just trying to take some of the water and colour off here because we want this to be on the lighter side. While it's still wet, we can remove some of it, not all of it. I'm still not very good at saving the white as such, but I will get there, you know, slowly but surely. That's all that matters, is that I'm trying, you know. Just trying to green that up to the edges a little more. Do a tiny bit up here because I haven't brought it right to the edge there. And again here, trying to keep it a very light amount of the actual colour, just because we don't want to give a harsh edge, but I also want the colour to come up to it, you know. Should have adjusted these before I dried them, but doesn't matter. We're learning, so we'll just keep practicing and improving. This does have a little bit over there, but I think we're okay now on that. There, what do you think? Nope. Nope. I moved on to doing one that was still next to ones that are wet. I kind of forgot. Let's just try to pull much of this off, and we can come back to it and redo it when it's dried, because that's still pretty wet. Should we try this one? I think this one should be good because that's away. My water is quite pink at this point, so making things wet is giving a pink tinge. A bit of a magenta along there. Brush off a bit. I can take this up without it bringing too much colour up. So if you can hear that, my door, I think that was a delivery. So you might hear some noise in the background for a minute. Right, I think our best bet, I can do this one because that's dry, isn't it? So let's make this one wet. Don't know what the trick to keeping your water clean is. Do you just have 10 ton of water beside you and keep changing it out? It's getting a little dry here. Let's put more of that in. For some reason, my pink is turning red. Why is my pink turning red? What have I done? All that along here. Touch of that blue just to darken it along there. And bubbles. Way too much water. Make some of that. Not too much, but some of it. There we go. That's dry. That's not too bad. So shall we do that one? But that one there is going to have more of the pure magenta because it's an inside petal again. I didn't make it wet because I want this to be more vibrant on the magenta. We want a touch of the blue on the inside here because we want to make it just that slight bit more purple and dark, you know. At least I think so. And I think that's what her images are showing, so she has it because it's bent over, it comes up over like that and kind of spreads out that way. There, more like that. And then don't do that bit yet, so I know it needs to dry first. Should we try to think? That's still a little too wet, but we could do that one. I think this one's safe for the minute. I really should have gave my brush a good clean, but it's okay because we can work with this. A little bit of the magenta along here. What do you think? Should we try that and see where we go from there, shall we? or dry. Let's try to clean my brush up a little more. And let's attempt to do this one in here. I'm just kind of letting this colour go along the whole lot because it's so thin we wouldn't get much of a colour variation in it. Probably would if you were more skilled, but I am not. So we are just going with what happens, you know. Just trying to look at her images to see what sort of things she's done. Yes, I think she's made that ever so slightly darker with the purple. So let's put a bit of the magenta in loose there and a little bit of the blue. Take out some of the water there. I think we need stronger magenta in this bit because we want it to stand out against that petal. There, that stands out a little better, doesn't it? I just try to touch the blue in a couple of places here, just to try to give a little bit of a darker shadow in some places. Okay, well that's doing that. Let's do this one, because this one is further away. I'm going to get more of the magenta in here to give the shadowing against the lighter colour there. But I want to try to keep a lot of the lighter colour here. Just trying to encourage it to go down a little so it doesn't get too close to the edge. Which is what I've seen them do. Encourage it down, push that colour back. I have been watching some videos. What do you think? So I think we can probably do this bit in here because that looks to be in a dry area. We got too much water there. Let's pull some of that back, shall we? one of the things she teaches us is where we put the brush down and pick it back up has the most water. So you have to plan where you're starting and stopping things so that you get things in the right place. Just putting a little bit of magenta in here, but none of the blue, because of course that one had the magenta and the blue. And that way they should stay different colours and not blend too much together. There, what do we think? Right, so these ones are all really touching wet ones, so I'm going to leave them for a minute, but we do have this bit and this bit we can do. That bit's going to be another dark magenta, so I might do that in a minute. Let's do this lighter one up here first. Touch of that magenta just on the outside edge here. Don't want it to travel too far up. So we still want that lighter pink, this lighter pink here. So again, we'll do what I did just now and kind of paint away, trying to encourage the colour to go down rather than in it, if that makes sense. So that will hopefully dry lighter along that bit. Right, let's do the more darker magenta bit here. And hopefully we'll only have to do one last drying session on this big flower before we move on to the petals. Not petals, buds. So have magenta, and then we want some of that blue, which is that blue. Trying not to get too much of the blue, but we need enough that it turns purple, you know. But a magenta purple, not a straight up different purple. We want it to be darker, but not odd. Still needs to look like it belongs to the same flower. So we still need it to be that pink. I think that looks right, doesn't it? Say that like I know what I'm doing. I don't. So I think if we dry, we can do that outside edge, do these ones here. We need to do one more dry session after so I can do the pink, but what I could, not the pink, the middle. But she leaves that and goes on to these. So if I paint them and leave it, I don't need to dry. I can just move straight onto them, can't I? This is so much more difficult than I feel like I'm ready for. Because with acrylics, I can just paint, and if I messed up, I just paint a layer over the top. It didn't matter. But with watercolours, of course, that really matters. Because you need to save the light. You can't really paint back over. You can get white watercolour, but it's not the same as saving the light in the first place. Saving the light, you know? That should do the job. Okay, one last bit on this one, and then we move on to the petals. Let's take that back down because that's coming up. Move on to the petals? No, we move on to the buds. So we want to get it wet. Let's start here. Ugh, water, I should have changed it. Never mind. I'm trying not to put cuts into these anymore and just work with drying and carrying on in one cut for you, so you don't get lots of start and stops. I know people don't like the start stop jump ones, but it's making it a little difficult. I'm limited on what water I got to be able to keep my brush clean. Still don't know why this has gone partly red, but it's drying pretty pink, so maybe it just looks red against the dried pink, and actually it's still the same colour it was when it started. Colour is weird. When you've been painting long enough, you start to realise that what you learn at school for what makes what colours is not always correct, and that some colours actually make completely different colours than you'd expect, because you can get an orange red, you can get a blue red, get a yellow green, blue green, and these things, they affect it. They affect what colour is going to come when you mix them, which I think is cool because it's just fun experiment to see what you can get, but also pain in the ass if you're trying to get a specific colour and things don't go according to plan, which is what my green was doing earlier. Thinking mixing my green up so early was a mistake because it's starting to dry out. A little bit more water and it'll be fine, hopefully. Let's do this one. Not much. Too much water there. Let's take some of that off. Touch of magenta. I think we're going to want a little bit of the blue along that bit so we can differentiate that bit better. Like that. What do you think? Bit of a risk doing this one because of the other ones, but I think we'll be alright. I was saying so much like I know what I'm doing, but I really don't. But I'm still enjoying it, and as I said earlier, that's all that matters, that you enjoy what you're learning. Do just a bit more magenta in that section there. Try to differentiate it from the other ones. Then use my brush to pull that back so it's just in that bit. There, like that. Right, let's do this one. The magenta, just in those bits. And pull some of that colour back because we don't want it going too much. And there we still want the light to be in that bit. Like that. Do that bit there. So this one I've just gone straight in with the colour up there because it's going to be quite a contrast against that, so I'm not too worried about saving the white for that bit. But it will have more magenta there to differentiate that bit. And the same here. Also, I'm going to colour back again. I got a little too much in it there. There. Okay, so if we leave that for the minute and move on to these, which I think she says you might use a slightly different pink. Let's have a look. With the buds are often soft pinks, vibrant pinks, and even greens, so you can go with the flow of those colours or follow along with it. Okay, so we can pick kind of what we want then. It looks like she's actually done a bit of green on the outsides of some of these. It's not all pink. Interesting. She's done that one and that one green, and then these bits and then these bits pink. Okay. I think we're going to go with a slightly more magenta pink for just to differentiate it. So she did that green, so let's do these ones. And then pull some of that back because I put too much colour in it there. Hopefully be able to pull it back a little. Again, trouble with saving the white. I think I pulled it back a little. That's not too bad. Do that slightly different colour. And then go even lighter here. I want to really have it quite light in the centre there. Not as light as I would like. I just keep going in with a cleaner brush that's just more clean water as such, that I'm just wiping it on a damp part of my towel rather than putting fresh water in. There, pulled it up a little. What do we think? So let's do the same sort of thing here. So she's done that one green and gone in here. I think what I'm going to do, both with this one and go back and do the other, let's just give a kind of a gentle hue around that middle section to imply a little bit of depth and shadowing in it. Try to blend it out a little. like that. And then do more of this here. More a little wetter and cleaner. Don't want it too strong. I know she said we could go with the flow on this, but I'm just trying to at least mimic roughly what she's done, because I'm not a flower expert, so I don't really know a lot about what these should look like. So I think I'd rather stick with roughly how she's done it, with the greens in the same places and the pinks in the same places. Right, so let's try this green. Let's put a little bit more water in there, pick it up again. Okay. She says paint the green, and then while it's still wet, pop some of the yellow on to give it, see my hand resting on there. I'm going to make that dry so that I don't ruin it. I should have thought of that beforehand. My hand was bound to rest on it. Hopefully that's enough. Okay. Yeah, that should be good. A little warm, but good. So I'm gonna go up with this green. Then the leaves. Again, as I said earlier, she was saying how, you know, where you pick your brush up from is where most of the paint will leave, the water will leave. So that's why I'm tending to go towards, because that's going to be darker there. So by going towards that, I should hopefully deposit most of the darkest colour points where it would naturally be darker anyway, if that makes sense. At least in theory, that's what I think. She has a lot of explanations on how to plan these things and what things, so do grab the book and have a read. Let's grab like yellow. If I can actually get pure yellow, let's try to clean this off a little. It might be easier if I just use my spray thing. There we go. And then put a dot of little yellow just in a couple of places to give a kind of lighter hint down in a few places. You want it to blend, not be obviously just dotted on top. There, like that. What do you think? So again, I'm trying to leave the darkest bit up there, but I don't want to go too light on my leaves here. I'm just putting some more in so that it's green and not just very light green, you know? I mean, light green is still green, but you know what I mean. Again, let's get some of that yellow. A little bit there, in there, and in here, and in this bit here. Blend it out. Don't want it just kind of dotted on it. I want a little bit more darker green up here. Blend it out there. Because these aren't solid colour, they are kind of a blend of many greens and yellows together. Just a little bit darker in that section there, I think. Trying to get up to these lines. I've really not followed the lines very well, but never mind. Right, okay. So I'm going to want to make sure my brush is clean as possible. And let's spray that yellow. Let's try to spray it more to do this middle. So looks like we are centre thinning. We're going to allude to those beautiful yellow stamens, wet the centre until it's a flood or goss stage, and then drop in some permanent yellow and burnt sienna randomly to get some variations. Okay, so we want to make it quite wet. Don't want to use my spray because that'll get everywhere. So we'll do it with the brush, which is mostly clean at this point. A little bit more. There we go. I think that should do the job. So then drop in permanent yellow. There we go. That's spreading nicely. And then just add some of that burnt sienna. So I've just kind of switched between dotting permanent yellow and this sienna to I want to make sure it doesn't flood into the other bits by controlling where it goes. A little. I think we could do it more the bright yellow dotted in. I might dry it slightly to get a little more control over because it's blending together too much. It's not fully dry, just to give me a little more control. I need to clean my brush more, I think. Try to get more yellow actually being the yellow, not all the other colours that are dotted with it. Just the yellow is I'm going to use a bit of this to try to clean up this yellow a little. Because, as per usual, the magenta has got into the yellow. So I can just clean it up a little to get some actual yellow. Would be really nice. And then some darker of these burnt sienna. Might try a little bit of that darkness just to, yeah, I think I prefer that. A little bit of this just to give some variation of shadowing and things. The middle's not as nice as hers, but thingammy. Add some lines to allude to the statement, she says. I think might need it to be drier for that. Try to get some. Might be better to do that with the slightly darker colour. Let's try to give an illusion of some actual things. No. Do a couple more of these darker ones. And then see if I can get the yellow clean enough to get some bright yellow in. What I might have to do is literally try the neon yellow and see if that works. Because this, yeah, these are just coming out too. How bad will the neon yellow look? We might be about to ruin it, but we can try. I think it needs to be a little wetter. Oh no, there we go. The neon yellow is giving us that white yellow that we want. It should be more yellow than what we got, so just trying to encourage a little more hint of the yellow. Hopefully when it dries the neon yellow won't be shockingly neon yellow, just more yellow than what I was getting, you know? Let's try that and find out, shall we? There we go. Yeah, I think the neon yellow helped give it that little extra push. So what do we think? So we were supposed to get something that looks like that, which is quite a subtle pink. I didn't manage that subtle pink. We got that. But I mean I tend to like my brighter colours anyway, so I'm not disappointed. On my camera right now this is looking a lot bigger change, but in real life it is a radiant change. I'm hoping it will look better on the actual finished footage. But from my distance here, this is looking very white, and it's not. It is a much subtler change. So hopefully it looks right to you guys. But what do you think? As I said, the colours weren't exactly what she had, but I've done my best, you know? I've done what I could. So I'm quite happy with that. So thank you for watching along, and let me know if you've bought the book and you're painting along too. Please do share them. YouTube has a post section where community members can post pictures and things as well. So please do share what you've got, any that you've done, and if you've got the book or any other watercolor paintings that you do, that you want to show me. I would love to see everything you do. But so let's have a look what we've got for next week. Next week we are doing this, which is an Argave sunset, which I think might not be too bad compared to this. We will see. But I will see you all soon. You will take care. Bye.